welcome to the most amazing woman, Helen. When we first talked about Human As, you were seriously on the top of the list. And I didn't really know you, we didn't really have a connection yet, and then it's just come about, and here you are on our couch.
So good.
And my heart is so grateful.
Yeah.
Because I know that you have so much goodness in you and in your world and what you do behind closed doors, away from people, and also traveling the world and meeting people. So I'm honoured.
So nice.
So honoured.
Thanks,
so
guys.
Thank you for being here. I am,
So stoked to be here. Thank you for having me. It's an
my
honour
gosh.
and a privilege to sit on this couch.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into it. Tell us a bit about you and your family.
Sure. So my name is Helen and I am married to an amazing man called Tim. And
We
together
love Tim.
we do love Tim.
We don't know Tim,
He
love
is a
Tim.
good looking man. And together we have 3 beautiful children. Hope is 6, Eva is 5, and Maz is 3.5.
Wow, cool.
And for work, I am a humanitarian photographer and storyteller.
Wow.
So I've been traveling the world for the last decades in about 35 different countries, working for about 50 different incredible NGOs and non-profit charities to kind of help bring their work to life.
Amazing.
Wow.
So amazing. What's the why behind what you do?
Yeah, so I've kind of been thinking about that, and there's really 3 reasons. For me, the first is my faith.
Yeah.
I believe that we serve a God that cares so much about the poor and oppressed in this world.
Yeah.
And he asks and invites all of us into that story.
Yeah.
And each of us can do that in different ways, but for me, it's through photography and storytelling and traveling to the front lines of some of the most desperate places and bringing those stories to life.
Yeah.
Another reason for me would just be that I love it.
Yeah.
You know, there's this scene in Chariots of Fire where he talks about as he runs, he feels God's pleasure. And when I'm out there in the field, sweating it out and meeting these people and hearing their stories, I feel like I'm the best version of myself.
Wow.
And the last thing is just a legacy for my kids. I believe as parents we have a responsibility to show our children the path.
Yeah.
Show them where to go. And so for both Tim and I and the work we both do, he does trauma counselling for victims of war and refugees. We want to show our kids, what this looks like and what this can look like, and that they've got a part to play in it.
Yeah.
That is amazing and very selfless and really not easy to do. It's not easy to put yourself in big situations and serve God in an almighty way, even when it is sometimes to be a stretch for us as humans. But to lead your children like that is incredible, and we honour you for that.
Thank you.
You have adopted 2 out of your 3 beautiful children. How did that come about?
Sure. So when I was 12 years old, my best friend at the time, I was always a girl with 3 younger brothers. So I was the oldest girl to 3 younger brothers. And she didn't have any brothers. And overnight, she got 2 brothers. And I remember being like, what? Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, how does that even happen? And simultaneously, I kind of started learning about other countries and how hard things were for people.
Yeah.
And that's when the seed got planted. So fast forward to my first date with my husband, Tim. He took me to Denny's.
So good. I love Kelly Price.
He is all class. That Oreo milkshake.
Yes.
It's
so good. It's so sickening and amazing.
And so great.
I get it.
So over the Oreo milkshake, I kind of said to him, hey, look, for me, a deal breaker, first date is adoption. And he said, you know what, my deal breaker is I would really like to live in Africa. He grew up there till he was 15.
Wow.
And I was like, that's fine. So we eventually did move to Uganda, and we'd been there for just a few weeks, and an opportunity came up, and to make a long story short, I was given 9 minutes notice that a little girl was looking for a family.
Wow.
And so I hopped on a motorbike and I drove across town. Tim was on his way up to South Sudan. He handed me my passport, my phone, my keys, wallet, and he's like, go get her. So I drove across town, met this beautiful little girl, emergency foster care, became legal guardianship. 3 years later became full-blown adoption, and she was 6 days old.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then I think it was like, so then we had Eva biologically, which was great. And then after that experience, I was like, let's adopt again. No, I'm kind of joking. But on our 10-year wedding anniversary, I just said, I really feel like there's one more out there for us.
Yeah.
And I just want to knock and just see. And so we did. And we met a beautiful little boy who was 5 months old. And he joined our family. And it felt like everyone that's meant to be here is now here.
Yeah. That's amazing. Wow. And even hearing you talk, like, 9 minutes. We overcomplicate it.
I was holding her and she was like, and she woke up and she needed to change her diaper. And I was like, I don't even own a diaper. We need to go across the street right now and get a diaper. And oh my goodness, what am I going to feed her when she wakes up? Let's go across the street and get some formula. And I don't have any clothes. So I had not one thing to my name when she came along.
Apart from just like saturated in love.
Apart from I will do whatever it takes to for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Which is amazing.
And how old is she now?
She's 6.5.
6.5. You must look at her and be like, man.
Yes.
Look where we are today.
I know.
Look who you've become.
Yeah, and who you're becoming, and it's so
amazing.
cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it was all three of my kids. They have amazing stories. Adoption's always, it was never ever a second best option for me. Yeah. It was always what I'd wanted since I was a little girl.
Wow.
Yeah. Always.
So it came natural and comfortable.
Yeah, and like we've been talking about it for, all of our dating life, all of our married life. So when the opportunity did present, it wasn't like a should we. It was like, go.
Wow.
Yeah, go get her.
Yes.
And so you've got 3 kids. Obviously 2 are adopted, one of your own. You guys are back here now in New Zealand. Yeah. So what's that transition been like? I guess quite a different culture and a culture shock for them. How's that been transitioning into that?
Yeah, so obviously the last 6 years of our lives we've been living in Uganda and working there. And we decided to come back primarily because our son Maz needed to have some heart surgery. Yeah. So that was kind of the main catalyst for coming back. The second big thing was just the sustainability of working on the front lines of some of the worst places on the planet can take a bit of a toll. I was doing up to 20 trips a year.
Wow.
My husband's frequently in Iraq and Uganda, and that just, that's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we wanted to find a way to do that more sustainably. So since we've come back, I feel like the first few months for our family were a real shake-up.
Yeah.
Everything is different here, from the temperature. We're used to the equator, 27 year round, you know?
Wow.
Yes.
We're used to different food. We're used to having a beautiful helper that live with us in our home. Yeah. We're used to different friends, and our kids have gone from a majority culture to a minority culture. So that was a big adjustment. Yeah. But now that we're back, I feel like we're starting to find our feet. Yeah. And COVID has literally grounded our entire family.
Yes.
And that's been a blessing that we never saw coming.
Yeah, wow.
Because also with both your fields of work, you're busy and you are traveling and you are putting in hours and making yourselves uncomfortable in situations. So when you come back and it's stillness, it's really different. Yeah. And like Tim and I were joking yesterday, we were like, the Lord really did not need to send a global pandemic to make us stay, stable. Yes. Yeah.
But we really have been grounded. Neither of us. I went to Sri Lanka right before lockdown started, but since then I've been nowhere, and it's very unusual for our family. But the kids are like loving it.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. Are they going to school here?
Yeah. So Hope is in school here. Eva and Maz are in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
So cool, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we were speaking last time, I feel like we can get in our bubble and we can get in and fair enough at times, like we have our perspective of what's happening around us, the problems that happen are like the end of the world or the biggest thing in our focus, and we can sometimes lose sight or don't know even how to know what's going on around the world apart from when we watch the news. And I think it's so important for us to know that sometimes we're all good and it's okay, and we've got such a blessed life, and when you travel, even myself, let alone do your job, you're able to gain perspective, to know this is how other people live, this is what's happening, these are their problems, these are bigger worldly views. Because of your field, you'll know this very close to home. What is the one thing that you want people to know about the world?
So, before I started doing humanitarian photography and storytelling, I honestly thought that people on the news were somehow fundamentally different to me. Yeah. Maybe they feel less, hope for less, care less, want less.
Wow.
But painfully, I have come to see over time that they are exactly like me. And what they want and what they hope for is in no way different for them just because they are poor. Yeah. And so what I've, I kind of imagined, if I'm being really honest, like, in places like Africa and Asia, like these mums, they have so many children, and those children sometimes get sick or pass away, and surely it's like they've got 10 kids. Like, I just was so naive. Yeah. And I just didn't think that they were like me. Yeah. Or they worried about their kids having enough snacks to eat.
Yeah.
Well, that's so not even true. Yeah. And when I got there, I was mortified at my own naivety and thinking that they were anything less than human. Because I've sat with them in their homes. I've seen them cry as they told me that they're now living in a refugee camp, eating the exact same food every single day, and all they want to give their kids is snacks. And I'm like, my kids love snacks. Yeah. Like, of course you're just like me, and when you lose a child, it's not easier for you because you're poor.
Yeah.
It's the same pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
That is, I think, something we all need to be reminded of.
Yeah.
And because they feel so far away, they're not really.
But they are real when you sit with them in their huts, in their houses, holding hands with them, watching them tell you their story. They are so real. And it's just like, I just want to scream from the top of my lungs about some of the stuff that I see out there.
Yeah.
And just like, I know that Kiwis are, compassionate people. And I know if they were sitting in those positions, they would feel the exact same way. And so it is, in some ways, a huge part of my job to tell their stories and to bring their world, their reality to life, so people can see themselves in that person and be like, man, if that was me, I'd want someone to help out and help me.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
How do you think just simply how someone can help?
There's so many different ways that people can help with these, with the issues that are going on around the world. One of the ways that I have chosen to help is through sponsoring a child. Yeah. That's like a long-term, you walk alongside a child right the way through to fullness for them. Yeah. It can start as young as 1 year old, and you can walk with them right the way through to they're 18. And I've seen tremendous impact through that, because I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay.
Yeah, that's one way.
Wow.
It's good to know, like, I think sometimes people have the perspective, I'm just paying money, and they dehumanize it. Like,
I did. Yeah. I for sure did. Yeah. It's like a monthly, it's like a power bill.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It's just like a monthly thing, the pictures on your fridge.
Yes. Fridge and then.
Write a letter sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah. Wow. So you're obviously a storyteller through the lens.
Yeah, I want to hear some of these stories. We've got some photos.
Some photos. So beautiful. So you've selected 3 that meant a lot to you. So why don't you talk us through them?
Sure.
Pass them over so you can...
I'll just tell you one quick thing first. So right before I started doing this, I had 2 things that happened to me that kind of got me into this work. Because originally I was doing like fashion, beauty, lifestyle, public relations, and events, right? So one of the things that happened was I was sitting at a bus stop, and I sat next to this young man, and I could tell he was hungry. We'd been waiting for 4 hours together, and we shared an apple together. And I remember he ate the apple from the top, like from the stick down. He'd never eaten an apple.
Oh.
And so we laughed. I was like, no. But it was too late. So anyways, we kind of formed this friendship. He came over to our house, and one day he was sitting on my couch eating spaghetti bolognese, and he casually dropped into conversation that he used to be a former child soldier. And a child soldier was back in like the days of Joseph Kony, where they would abduct children and they would make them fight and kill people. And so I remember being like, I'm sorry, what now? and just wanting to know everything that he could tell me about what had happened. I had never been interested in that kind of thing. I was very protected as a child, couldn't even stand Holocaust at high school. And so all of a sudden his story came to life before me, and I just wanted to know everything because this is my friend.
Yeah.
And a few weeks later, I ended up meeting my TFM sponsored child, Compassion sponsored child, and as I said, he used to be a utility payment to me if I was really honest with you. Like I didn't even think about it. And then I met him. And we went to his house, and his mum, he's got 10 siblings, and we walked into his house, and it's like this tiny mud flippin' hut. And I was like, oh, did you ever get any of the letters I wrote to you, thinking, you know, of course he didn't, and like none of these photos, of course not. And he like goes into his room, comes out with their family photo album. There's 30 photos in there, of all 10 of them, for their whole lives. And what's in there? My photos. In their family photo album, taking pride of place. Where are the letters I've written? This huge stack inside his house.
Wow.
Like taking pride of place on the wall. I was like, oh my word, I am so embarrassed and mortified that I didn't even know if you were real.
Yeah.
And here you are, flesh and blood, like
he
benefiting. Now he's a barber. You know, now he's graduated the program, he's a barber. Yeah. Anyways, so those were two things that really got me into this work. So from that point on, I came back to New Zealand. I was like, I want to serve in this way. I want to use my skills in this way. And the first photo I wanted to talk to you about was this one. So what happened was I wanted to study what it is like for a mum in the first year of her life in Uganda. So when she gets pregnant right the way through the child's first birthday. So I hooked up with 3 mums, and I called the project The First Hello. And Compassion, which is also known as TFN in New Zealand, had just launched a program called Survival. So traditionally sponsorship started like when kids are 5, right? But what they're realizing is a lot of kids are not even making it to 5. So we've got to intervene way earlier. So I followed the story of Mama Juliet and her husband Edward from the time she got pregnant to the time her baby Christine was 1. And 3 other mums as well. And I remember, you know, Juliet comes from a very poor family. Her husband Edward and her got married super young. They fell pregnant quite quickly, and she was kind of informed by a lady in the local church that she'd love to register into this program. So I remember waiting, you know, coming to take the photos of her as a pregnant lady, and then waiting for the moment when she'd give birth to this little girl. She ended up giving birth all alone in a hospital when a midwife decided to go off duty. First baby, she's in her 20s.
Wow.
So
you're standing there like...
And I was like, what the heck? This is quite frightening. So I remember in the morning when Edward came, because Edward wasn't allowed to be there for the birth. So this is the very first photo of him meeting her for the first time, baby Christine. Yeah. So that's that first moment, the first hello.
Look at his face.
A really proud dad.
Really proud. Like, really going,
how do I hold you?
But proud but nervous.
Yeah. And over the coming months, I obviously went back to visit them lots of times and kind of watched as they raised their children. Like, I was really interested as a Kiwi mum, like, what's going to be different between these Ugandan mums and me? And, you know, she used to say things like, I heard that white women don't feel pain when they give birth. And I was like, I'm not sure where you're getting your information from. That is not the case.
That is definitely not the case.
And she's like, I've heard you guys get mad if your babies don't like sleep on schedule. And I was like, a little bit. Anyway, so we went right the way through to when Christine was 1. And at the end, she kind of said to me, you know, I really love my husband, but he annoys me, you know. And whereas this little girl could never, ever annoy me. She's just so cute.
So like us, man. Daniel's not watching that, eh?
Cut that out. So now they're doing great. Like, she's got a job, he's got a job. Christine is thriving.
That's amazing. What do you think some of the differences were? What did you kind of see in it that you felt like?
They're so much more relaxed than us.
Yeah.
So much more. They're just so much more chill. Like, I would get on boaters, which are like motorbikes with these guys, and we'd just like pop off to the local supermarket or down to the store. They're just, I think overall that's the thing I noticed, like African women are very just chill about things, and we are way more uptight. They don't care if their kids are eating a bit of dirt mixed in with the porridge. They feed them whenever. I think some women are like that more in New Zealand these days.
Yes. Wow.
It was so cool to just see how similar and also different women are. But we all love our babies the same.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
So the second story I wanted to talk to you about was Kentia. So I was in a refugee camp on the border of Tanzania, and I was in a medical ward with an organisation called Medical Teams International. And I was brought into this ward. I was there to cover what the medical facilities were like in the refugee camp. And I remember arriving there that day and seeing two distinct girls, each about 8 years old. One of them was this little girl, Kentia, and she had just arrived and she was suffering from severe acute malaria. And this is her mum as she brought her in, like she literally just brought her in. She is in a state of total desperation. She's got more children at home, and this little girl was just so ill. And I also saw to the corner of my eye another little girl who was on an oxygen tank and also very unwell, and the whole family was kind of around her bed, and I was really nervous going to sleep that night as I went home just thinking about these two little girls. And I came back the next day and I was so stoked to see that Kentia, this little one, was now sitting up. She was getting an IV line through her. She was responding well to the medication, and her mum was looking much better, and we hugged, and it was really cool to see that. But I looked to my other side and I see this other little girl, and she was just so far gone. And and I remember hearing this noise. I've seen people, I've seen dead people before, but I've never seen someone die. And she was only a few years older than my daughter Hope, and I just remember knowing her parents were so desperate. She had uncles around her bed. Everyone was trying to feed her. She couldn't even take the food in. And I heard her make this awful noise, and the doctor put his hand on my back and he said, "We need to go now." And I walked out that door and I just sobbed and sobbed because she took her last breaths inside there. And this is like the unfairness of what's happening in the world, that a preventable disease like malaria can kill someone, can kill a daughter, can kill a child. And I remember just walking outside and just losing it because it is a precious moment to watch someone take their first breath and to watch someone take their last, and I was there for that. And I remember composing myself and walking next door, and they told me to put some gumboots on, and I put some gumboots on, and I went into a labour ward in the middle of this camp. I'm sweating like mad, and so is the woman on the bed, and I watch as surprise twins come into the world within 5 minutes of watching another little girl take her last breath. And I was like, what? I've got goosebumps all over my body now. I will never forget that moment. It just felt like that fine line between heaven and earth. Wow. And you're watching it happen in front of you. Yeah, so that was Kentia and the surprise twins.
Wow. Oh my.
Yeah. And the last story I wanted to tell you guys about was this one. So this is a beautiful little girl called Edna. And Edna is South Sudanese. And she was 8 years old when soldiers came to her school and started shooting in the air. So she and her three siblings immediately, or her two other siblings, grabbed each other and they ran as fast as they could home to find mum and dad, to the other siblings, because there's 6 of them in total, and mum and dad were not there. And so when war breaks out and you're at school and mum and dad are not home, you've just got to run. And so they ran and walked for 3 days to Uganda as unaccompanied children. So she was 8, her older sister was 10, the other brother is 12. Wow. And so an 8, 10 and 12-year-old rock up into Uganda as unaccompanied children, no idea how to contact mum and dad, no no prospects, no food, no school, nothing. And so when I met them, I was on assignment for World Vision doing their 40-hour famine campaign. And Edna was our hero child. And when I met Edna, I could tell her parents loved her so much.
Yeah.
You know, you just meet those kids and they're like got this inner confidence and like a joy to them.
Yeah.
And Edna has not found her parents. We do not know where they are. This has been probably 4 years now.
Wow.
And, you know, World Vision was coming alongside them. They built a house for them. Who's going to build a house for these guys?
Wow.
They helped them get into school. You know, these kids had sold food rations just to get into school. Like, to be able to pay for, like, the books and stuff. Because school fees are free in a camp, but, like, the materials are not. And they sold their own food, like, food rations they were given by the UN to do this. Like, that's the kind of kids they are. Can you imagine how proud those parents were? And so when I met Edna and I was asked to photograph her, obviously we took lots of kind of more poignant, reflective shots. But I just remember saying, hey, Edna, what do you want to be when you grow up, darling? And she's like, I'd really like to be a pilot, because I always see these things in the air, these planes in the air, and I think, you know, I'd love to fly one of those days. And I was like, that's so cool. And she was wearing this like jacket. It was like a blanket. And so I said, do you want to go pretend to be a pilot with me? And so we went out into the bush behind her, into these long like African grass. And I was like, now go run and pretend to fly. Wow. And then I took this photo of her.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she would just be so present in that moment.
Yeah.
And I am so inspired by the woman you are. I think sitting here on this couch and hearing your passion, like you are oozing, like just
seen it all.
Yeah, but you speak with, you know, you can tell in your voice that this is just something that you are willing to spend the rest of your days doing, and being a voice for the people that don't have a voice. And so I can just, sitting here, I'm like, yeah, wow, I can feel it, and it's so inspiring.
Thank you.
And never ever stop.
Yeah, I think
Seeking.
And coming back here as well, I think it can. I'm sitting here while you're talking, just I guess having thoughts of my own, going, wow, okay, I really don't. I'm living in my bubble.
We can do more.
We can do more, and I know coming back here, there'll be a lot of moments for you where you probably feel like you're hitting your head against a wall and going, why? But I just encourage you to just keep going and fighting the fight, because it's extremely inspiring, and we'll be praying for you on this journey that, you know, doors keep opening and that more people can hear your story. And I feel extremely honoured to have you here. It's
and
amazing.
I pray for more energy and more capacity, if that's even a thing for you. You seem like you've got some capacity, but we serve a God who's so kind. And you know that these are his children too.
I do.
And you've got that heart, and I pray that the words that you speak even now, and people that are watching are able to get a taste of God's heart through your words, and you really are doing his kingdom so proud. And it's a blessing to be able to even let other people hear it through our platform, and that is what we want to do. So thank you for caring about his children.
I'm so honoured you guys have even given space on your you know, amazing platform to share about this kind of stuff. It shows your heart, actually, and shows the kinds of things that are inside you guys. So I'm so grateful to be able to bring these stories and hopefully an encouragement to your viewers that, like, there are some amazing organizations right around the globe. I get to photograph them. The money people donate, it works. You know, of course, we all know about dodgy ones. I'm not talking about those. I don't photograph for those. The ones I do photograph, I can encourage people that money is being put to good use. There's real people on the other end of that.
And we'll put up, after this, on a slide, we'll put up some resources and things where people can help.
Absolutely,
from you. But I'm going to throw you off guard because we forgot to tell you. But with Human As, we're all about community and people. And so just a moment for you to think about someone. You can take a moment in your world or in your life, or someone that's been really special or pivotal to your family, just to say thank you to them and honour them.
Well, it's very obvious who I would think. I would think my husband, because I feel like before I met him, life was heading a certain way, and that was a great way. But when I met him, you know, he'd grown up in Africa since he was 5 till he was 15. So it was a huge part of his life. And because of him, because of you, Tim,
wow.
we have the most amazing life. Sorry, babe. I don't mean to cry. I cry like 5 times a year. So he knows this is very rare for me. I'm not a crier. But yeah, I'm so grateful for you as a husband. I'm grateful to this life journey with you. I'm so grateful that we've got the most beautiful kids on the planet to call ours and that we're raising them together. I'm so proud of the man that you've become. You stopped a career in teaching, a very amazing career in teaching, and you've chosen to leave it all behind and become, you know, someone that works with refugees and victims of war. And that takes a certain kind of guy. And you are good to your bone. And I'm so excited for what God's doing in your life. And I'm grateful to be there on the journey with you. Love you, babe.
Wow.
Oh, we love Tim. Let's hug Helen.